I used to think that if I didn't need anyone, I wouldn't have to worry about disappointment. I wouldn't have to worry about rejection. I wouldn't have to worry about being vulnerable. Until God made me realize that I was not operating in strength. I actually was operating in fear. And so today we're talking about how hyper independence could be the thing that's actually keeping you from depending on God. And I know for sure that has been my dilemma. And for a long time, I thought self-sufficiency and independence was a great thing. I grew up in a Jamaican household where you're taught to be independent. You're taught to be resourceful. You're taught to be self-sufficient. Anything outside of that is considered laziness or a lack of ambition. And it has not been until this season of transition, especially, that God has been showing me just how much that has all been rooted in fear and how it actually is very much rooted in pride. Because again, society and the world, and maybe even culturally, it has been taught as a good thing or a must-do thing. A lot of the times we don't realize it starts from a negative place. It starts from trauma of some sort. Either you were hurt, or you were rejected, or you were abandoned, or you were betrayed, or you were overlooked, or you were in a vulnerable situation and you realized how much of a struggle it was that you couldn't depend on others. And so you built this form of strength out of survival. And so I have been very guilty of that, especially growing up in a household where I was the oldest sibling and I had to be almost the caregiver, if you will. And so you end up growing up too fast and you learn self-sufficiency is not only important, but it's also important to be sufficient in general because you also have siblings to care for. You have to be responsible. You have to be thinking in a specific way. And so that, I feel like, on top of just, like I've mentioned before in like vlogs and on my podcast, Scratch Everything, I have dealt with abandonment and rejection. And so those things on top of, being responsible at an early age and being a latchkey child, as they say, all of those things really just made me super sufficient. And like I said before, I thought those were great things. And I thought those were things that made me more responsible. Those are things that kept me disciplined, kept me on track for just personal goals and just goals in general and all of the things. And then God kind of swooped in and said, no, because it's actually blocking you from depending on me. And that was a very, very hard thing that I had to face because it's just what I knew how to be. I didn't know how to be anything else. And so I thought dependency was weak. I thought being dependent made me so vulnerable that I couldn't trust it because, again, you don't want to go through the same abandonment or possible rejection or depending on someone or something and it not happening, and then you have to face disappointment and anxiety and hurt and just all the things. And so it was just the hardest for me to wrap my head around self-sufficiency being a negative thing and being rooted in pride, because I thought pride was just, seeing someone else less than. And you don't always realize that is what you do when you don't receive help, when you don't receive love, when you don't receive any sort of assistance, or you don't receive you don't know how to receive compliments, or you don't know how to receive anything. You're really saying that that thing or that person or that help or that offer is not enough. And so you really are, not for nothing, looking kind of down on, maybe not from an arrogant standpoint, but you are saying it's not enough. And so that is the tricky thing about pride. And that's what I have realized, and that's what God has really been showing me. And so while self-sufficiency was praised in one area of life or in just the world and society and on one retrospect, and it was praised by me because it kept me in control. It kept me from being vulnerable. It kept me from having to wait and depend and hope on something or someone. It was keeping me from God. And that is what I've had to learn, and that is what I've had to put down, and that is what I've had to surrender. And that has been one of the hardest processes of this whole walk because, like I said, it's just been such an ingrainment. All in all, I've had to ask myself many times, like, why is it hard to receive love? And when you can't receive love from people, or it's hard for you to receive love from people, granted, people who are self-sufficient and hyper-independent usually are great givers. It's easy to give. I've had no problem with being a giver, a listener, a supporter, somebody that has been the pillar for others. But when it comes to receiving that's been the toughest part. And so when it comes to that, you have to ask yourself, why is it hard to receive love? Why is it hard to receive help? Why is it hard to ask for help? Why is it hard to understand that God does not need us to perform for love, that He already loved us before we even did anything, before we even loved Him? Like, why is that hard to wrap around? And I think that is the part that I've had to ask myself in this entire process. And day by day, it's like part of it I let go more and more and more. And I won't sit here and tell you that it's easy because, again, when you have been cultivated and stewed and brewed in self-sufficiency and hyper-independence, and again, it's rooted in a form of pride that is just trying to protect yourself from going through hurts and disappointments and things of that nature, it is not the easiest to let go instantaneously. And so it's a constant thing that God is working with you and through you. And so I've had to, finally give in to His process, His ways. And a lot of the times His ways is to kind of bring you low, just so that you can learn humility, that you can understand that you do need God, that you do need people, that you do need help, that you can't do it all on your own. You do need love. You do need the things that you run from out of fear. And so that has truly been the process. And so if you are going through the same thing, or you've had to question God in any way as to why am I always in like low situations or situations that bring me such anxiety because I don't know what's next. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're planning. Maybe you should stop and just think to yourself and ask yourself, have I been depending on God? And if I have not, then maybe He's actually just trying to teach me that. And unfortunately, it's going to be painful and it's going to hurt and it's going to be a thing where you have to be in a very lowly place in certain seasons. But that's just, again, Him teaching you humility. Because one thing I realized, Jesus modeled this greatly, dependency. Although you're talking about a man that was God wrapped in flesh, He still modeled to us what it means to be dependent on the Lord. He often withdrew and prayed. He often, sought the Father's will, even in healings and miracles that He did. He oftentimes said that He doesn't do anything that the Father doesn't do, and He doesn't say anything that the Father doesn't say. So He showed us and modeled to us what Proverbs meant when it says, acknowledge the Lord in all your ways. It's something that I have, again, been really submitting to in this season and understanding. Although it is not fun, although it is not the best, I am grateful that He chose to not allow me to stay the way that I was. And for a long time, I thought that was strength. But now realizing that it was fear, it makes sense, because a lot of the times being the hyper independent one is tiring. A lot of the times you're burnt out. A lot of the times you're resentful because you give, and others don't seem to reciprocate. And sometimes it's that you do give to the people that don't reciprocate. And sometimes it's that you're not receiving from the people that are trying to give to you. And so, yeah, that is just my take on just hyper independence and how things that can start in survival mode, a lot of the times we think we should take that with us, and we think that we should have those things under our belt because it makes us look better, feel better, and it makes us just be able to have a sense of control. But one thing that I've learned on my walk with the Lord is that one, control is an illusion and that we don't have it. Not even in our own corners of the world, we don't have control. And two, you are not built to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're not built to try to do it all. You're not built for that. And so that is something that once I started releasing bit by bit by bit, the peace that I sought, I found. The joy that I sought, I found. The stripping of anxiety and depression came off of me because I just was not operating under a place of, I got it, I can do it. I now realize, no, Lord, I need you. I need you even for the things that I think I can do, even for the things you've gifted me to do, even for the things you've graced me to do. I still need you. And so while it has been, like I said, a learning curve and it hasn't been easy, I have definitely been day by day learning how to depend on the Lord more and more and more. So seeking him in every decision, big or small, realizing that I still need your sovereignty. I still need to know, even if I think I know, I could research and have all the bullet points and have all the things, but I need to seek you and make sure, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I go here? Should I not go there? Should I connect with this person? Should I not connect with this person? And sometimes we act as though God doesn't care about the details of our lives, but he does. And so when we realize that and we stop trying to be independent and we stop trying to be self-sufficient and we learn to just depend on him and seek his will, seek his way, we will realize just how much he does love us, how much he has been waiting on us, how much he does want good for us. Like he says in Jeremiah, I pray that you prosper as your soul prospers. And so our soul is the ultimate thing that he cares about. Our hearts are the ultimate things that he cares about. And so a lot of the times the circumstances that we cry about, we kick and scream about, we pray and supplement about is really him trying to just purify our hearts, purify our motives, change our ways of thinking, change our belief systems that we might have learned through childhood traumas or through just childhood, through culture, through family, through the world, all of those things. And so, like I said, if you have been struggling with hyper independence like me, self-reliance, self-sufficiency, I want you to know that you're not alone, that I too have struggled with that. And I wore it for a long time as a badge of honor. But it was not until one, like I said, just burnout and all the things and all the stress of it all, but also with the Lord just really walking me through this season of transition and letting me realize that I don't know it all. I don't know what to do in everything. I don't even know what I want. Sometimes we think we know what we want, but we don't. Once I realized that, like, I just need you, I need your sovereignty, I need your help, I need your strength, I need your love, I need it, that released me from a lot. And so I just want to help you in this by sharing my journey and my testimony through these mirror talks to help you release whatever it is that you might be struggling with, even if it's the same things as me or maybe not. But at least we start this conversation and we really get to the root of just all of the things that we have been trying to just get together. And so, yeah, so I really pray that this small little talks helped you. I pray that you were able to understand maybe the root of your hyperindependence or your self-sufficiency or just the thing that you've been wrestling with but you couldn't put words to. And so, yeah, so let me know in the comments if you have struggled with this, if this was something that you learned culturally, like I said, growing up in a Jamaican household and that being a thing, or through childhood traumas, like I said, that I've also faced as well, or just through the world and just through societal expectations and all of those things. Let me know if that's something that you struggle with, or if you've overcome it. If you know someone, whatever it may be, I would love to just chat with you, pray with you, and all of the things. And so thank you for watching. Again, until next time, I will talk to you again soon.